Today, we are going to be making a tier list where we are ranking every first overall NHL pick since 2000. The players whose NHL careers are over will be easy to rank, but for players just drafted to the NHL, I'll be basing my rankings on my future projection of the player. I am making the cutoff at players who have played at least one full NHL season, so 2021 and 2022 first overall picks, Power and Slafkovsky, will not be in today's rankings. Starting things off in the year 2000, the New York Islanders selected goaltender Rick DiPietro. DiPietro played 319 NHL games over 11 seasons for the Islanders, and only 4 seasons in which he played 27 or more games. He finished his NHL career in 2013 with a 130, 136, and 36 record, a 2.87 goals against average, and a .902 save percentage. The only thing to really write home about regarding Rick DiPietro is his 15-year, $67.5 million contract that he was bought out of in 2013 that sees DiPietro getting paid $1.5 million a year until 2029. Therefore, I am placing Rick DiPietro in the D tier. In 2001, the Atlanta Thrashers selected winger Ilya Kovalchuk. Kovalchuk played 926 games over 13 seasons in the NHL and played a handful of seasons in the KHL in the middle and end of his career. Kovalchuk scored 443 goals, added 433 assists, totaling 876 points, with a points per game of 0.946. Kovalchuk did notably win the Maurice Richard Trophy in 03-04 when he had 41 goals with the Thrashers. I have decided to place Kovalchuk in the B tier. In 2002, the Columbus Blue Jackets selected winger Rick Nash. Nash played 1,060 games over 15 seasons in the NHL. Nash scored 437 goals and added 368 assists, totaling 805 points, with a points per game of 0.759. Nash did notably win the Maurice Richard Trophy in 03-04, sharing it with the aforementioned Kovalchuk, with 41 goals for the Blue Jackets. I have decided to rank Nash in the C tier. In 2003, the Pittsburgh Penguins selected goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury. Fleury has played 940 games over 18 NHL seasons. Fleury has a record of 520 wins, 299 losses, and 87 shootout or overtime losses. Fleury has won 3 Stanley Cups with the Penguins in 2009, 2016, and 2017. In the 2009 run, Fleury was the bona fide number 1 goalie, going 16-8 with a 2.61 goals against average and a .908 save percentage. In the 2016 run, Fleury was limited to just 2 games, going 1-1, while Matt Murray held down the fort. And in the 2017 run, Fleury played 15 games, going 9-6 with a 2.56 goals against average and a .924 save percentage. In 2018, Fleury carried the inaugural Golden Knights to the Stanley Cup Finals, going 13-7 with a 2.24 goals against average and a .927 save percentage. Clearly, the Flower is a first ballot Hall of Famer, as Fleury currently sits 3rd all-time in wins, behind just Brodeur and Waugh. Fleury is also tied with Grant Fuhr for 3rd place all-time in playoff wins by a goaltender with 92. Fleury also picked up the William M. Jennings Trophy and the Vezina Trophy with the Golden Knights in 2021. This one was pretty hard, but ultimately I've decided to rank Fleury in the A tier. In 2004, the Washington Capitals drafted generational winger Alex Ovechkin. Ovechkin has played 1,274 games over 17 seasons with the Caps. Ovi has scored a ridiculous 780 goals and added 630 assists, totaling 1,410 points, with a points per game of 1.107. Those 780 goals currently rank 3rd all-time, and only is Ovi 21 goals away from tying Gordie Howe for 2nd. I think Ovi finishes with the all-time record. Ovechkin currently has 9 Maurice Richard trophies, 3 Hart trophies, 3 Ted Lindsay awards, an Art Ross, a Calder, a Conn Smythe, and a Stanley Cup. A 30-minute video could be dedicated to all of Ovi's achievements. Obviously, Ovi is a generational talent, and therefore this is a no-brainer. Ovi is absolutely S tier. In 2005, the Pittsburgh Penguins would somehow one-up the Washington Capitals and draft generational centerman Sidney Crosby. Crosby has played 1,108 games over 17 seasons with the Penguins. Sid the Kid has scored 517 goals, added 892 assists, totaling 1,409 points, with a points per game of 1.272. Crosby has won 3 Stanley Cups, 2 Conn Smythe trophies, 2 Maurice Richard trophies, 2 Art Ross trophies, 2 Hart trophies, 3 Ted Lindsay awards, and the Marc Messier Leadership Award. Like Ovechkin, Crosby would also need a half an hour long video dedicated to achievements if I was going to go into any depth about them. This is another no-brainer. Crosby is clearly S tier. In 2006, the St. Louis Blues selected defenseman Erik Johnson. Johnson has played 857 games over 14 NHL seasons. Johnson has 88 goals and added 241 assists, totaling 329 points, with a points per game of 0.384. Johnson has no major individual hardware to show for his NHL career, but did just win the Stanley Cup with the Colorado Avalanche this past season. This was another tough one, but Johnson barely makes the cutoff for my C tier. In 2007, the Chicago Blackhawks selected winger Patrick Kane. Kane has played 1,107 games over 15 NHL seasons with the Blackhawks. Kane has 430 goals and has added 750 assists, totaling 1,180 points, with a points per game of 1.066. Kane also has 132 playoff points in 136 playoff games, which is just shy of a point per game. Of note, Kane has won the Calder Trophy, an Art Ross Trophy, a Hart Trophy, a Ted Lindsay Trophy, a Conn Smythe, and 3 Stanley Cups. Even though Kane has just one Conn Smythe for the 3 cups, the Blackhawks absolutely had no chance of winning a cup without Kane on the roster. Kane will go down as the greatest American player to play hockey when he retires, though he may not be the greatest American hockey player ever in about 15 years. With all of the playoff success considered, I have to rank Kane S tier. There's simply no way the Blackhawks could be any happier with getting to draft Patrick Kane. In 2008, the Tampa Bay Lightning selected centerman Steven Stamkos. Stamkos has played 922 games over 14 seasons with the Lightning. Stammer has 481 goals and has added 491 assists for 972 points, with a points per game of 1.054. Of note, Stamkos has won 2 Maurice Richard trophies, first in 2010 where he scored 51 goals, and then again in 2012 when he scored 60. Stamkos also has 2 Stanley Cup rings. At this stage in his career, Stamkos is definitely A tier. In 2009, the New York Islanders selected centerman John Tavares. Tavares has played 949 games over 13 NHL seasons. Tavares has scored 391 goals and has added 504 assists, totaling 895 points, with a points per game of 0.943. Tavares has just 44 games of playoff experience and has never been past the second round. Tavares has also not won any NHL awards. For these reasons, I am placing John Tavares in the B tier. In 2010, the Edmonton Oilers would begin their first overall pick rampage by selecting winger Taylor Hall. Hall has played 761 games over 12 NHL seasons. Hall has scored 248 goals and has added 409 assists, totaling 657 points, with a points per game of 0.863. Hall has never really been close to winning any major hardware in the NHL, but then all of a sudden won the freaking Hart Trophy in 2018 when he had 93 points on a doubles team that made the playoffs, where their second highest point getter was Nico Hischier, who had 52 points, so a 41 point difference. Hall was just 6th in points behind McDavid, who had 108. This season is what really sparked the discussion of MVP of the league versus most important player to your team. Still, a Hart Trophy is a Hart Trophy, and I have to give Hall credit. But as for playoff experience, Hall has just 32 games. Everything considered, I am placing Taylor Hall in the B tier. In 2011, the Edmonton Oilers selected centerman Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Nuge has played 719 games over 11 seasons with the Oilers. Nuge has scored 196 goals and has added 332 assists, totaling 528 points, with a points per game of 0.734. In 37 playoff games, Nugent-Hopkins has 28 points, but he has never been past the third round. Nuge has also never won any NHL award. I am placing Nugent-Hopkins in the C tier, even though it hurts my heart a little. In 2012, the Oilers yet again selecting first overall picked winger Nail Yakupov. Yakupov had just 350 games over 6 NHL seasons before leaving to go to the KHL. Yakupov scored just 62 goals and 74 assists for 136 points, which is a points per game of 0.389, and he never won any NHL awards. To say this pick was disappointing would be an understatement. Enough said, D tier. In 2013, the Colorado Avalanche selected center Nathan MacKinnon. The Nate Dogg has played 638 games over 9 NHL seasons with the Avalanche. In those games, he has 242 goals and added 406 assists, totaling 648 points, for a points per game of 1.016. MacKinnon surprisingly has just 2 NHL awards, winning the Calder in 2014 and the Lady Byng in 2020. But he does now have a Stanley Cup to go with his stellar regular season resume. And in the Stanley Cup winning season, he had 24 points in 20 games, which was third behind Makar and Rantanen. MacKinnon to me is A tier, and with Colorado looking as scary as they do, and the Nate Dogg probably taking less money on his next contract, I can see the Colorado Avalanche being very good for a very long time. And that can only help MacKinnon be in a position to pick up more hardware in the future. In 2014, the Florida Panthers selected defenseman Aaron Ekblad. Ekblad has played 554 games over 8 NHL seasons with the Cats. Ekblad has 97 goals and has added 194 assists, totaling 291 points, for a points per game of 0.525. For defensemen, it's obviously not as important to see those big point totals, but Ekblad did actually have 57 points in 61 games this year, so who knows, maybe a Norris is in the cards somewhere down the line. Ekblad did pick up 1 NHL award so far, winning the Calder Trophy in 2015. I am placing Ekblad in my B tier. In 2015, the Oilers are back after missing out on the first overall pick for a few years, and they picked a good year to do that because they selected Connor McDavid with that pick. McDavid is another one of those generational players. In somehow just 7 years, McDavid has played 487 games, scored 239 goals, and added 459 assists, totaling 697 points for a points per game of 1.431. He has won the Art Ross 4 out of 7 years, won the Ted Lindsay 3 out of 7 years, and won the Hart 2 out of 7 years that he's been in the NHL. Obviously, the sky is the limit, and while the playoff success isn't there for his team, it is no fault of McDavid, as he has 55 points in just 37 playoff games. There is no way McDavid is an S tier in anyone's books. In 2016, the Toronto Maple Leafs selected centerman Auston Matthews. Matthews has played 407 games over 6 NHL seasons with the Maple Leafs, scoring 259 goals and adding 198 assists for 457 points, which is a points per game of 1.123. Matthews has won 2 Maurice Richard trophies, the Calder Trophy, and both the Hart and Ted Lindsay Award. He has also had 0 playoff success as the Leafs have failed to make it out of the first round yet in the 6 years he's been a part of the team. To me, Matthews is not S tier because those guys have won more awards, especially the big ones, and minus McDavid, they all have had huge roles on Stanley Cup winning teams. Matthews has more awards in less time than the guys in the A tier, but no Stanley Cup, which the other 3 guys have, and then blows everyone in the B tier out of the water. So I think for now, Matthews is A tier, but I do think if the Leafs win a cup, or if the Coyotes do, if you know what I mean, then Matthews will have earned a spot in the S tier, but not yet. In 2017, the New Jersey Devils selected center Nico Hischier. Hischier has played 300 games over 5 seasons for the Devils. He has scored 78 goals and has added 128 assists, totaling 206 points for a points per game of 0.687. He has won no hardware and has had no playoff success. To me, 5 years out is where I'd still rank people on potential instead of current accomplishments because they're still just 23. But even saying that, I don't see Hischier ever really being in the same echelon as Tavares or Kovalchuk. Therefore, I am placing Hischier in my C tier. In 2018, the Buffalo Sabres selected defenseman Rasmus Dahlin. Dahlin has played 277 games over 4 NHL seasons with the brutal Buffalo Sabres. Still, Dahlin as a defenseman has put up 31 goals and 129 assists for 160 points, with a points per game of 0.578. And going by ranking now on potential, I can see a huge future for the smooth skating defenseman. Dahlin was supposed to be the next Erik Karlsson, and instead Makar took that spot. But I do think Dahlin will be amazing. He already is actually, but I can see him being the best player on a cup contending team. For that reason, I am placing Dahlin in the B tier. I think in a few years I could look back at this video and laugh when Dahlin is a point per game defenseman and the Sabres have consecutive cups, with Dahlin leading the charge. In 2019, the New Jersey Devils selected centerman Jack Hughes. Hughes has played 166 games over 3 NHL seasons with the Devils. He has scored just 44 goals and 64 assists, totaling 108 points for a points per game of 0.651. However, this past year he scored 56 points in 49 games, and since Hughes is only 21, I'm definitely making this prediction based on potential rather than current accomplishments. I could see Hughes A tier one day, but for now I am predicting B tier. And now for our last first overall pick. In 2020, the New York Rangers were gifted Alexis Lafreniere with their first overall pick. Laf has played 135 games over 2 seasons for the Blue Shirts, scoring just 31 goals and adding just 21 assists for 52 career points, which is a points per game of 0.385. To me, even though this is based on predictions, I just don't know if Lafreniere has what scouts think he had in him. Obviously, I think he's going to have a great and long NHL career, but I think it's going to be in the Rick Nash tier, so I am putting Lafreniere in the C tier. That's it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I know some of the picks might be a bit controversial, especially the Matthews prediction. Thank you for watching. Take care, everyone.